I wasn't supposed to stay. It was just a routine checkup. Nothing serious. I'd been feeling a little run down. Some chest tightness, maybe too much stress, and not enough sleep. Just thought I'd be in and out. But the nurse's face changed. When she read my vitals, the doctor's tone shifted from casual to careful. Next thing I knew, I was in a gown, hooked to machines, and told I'd be spending the night. Just for observation, they said. But by morning, I had a diagnosis. Something serious. Something with a name. I wasn't ready to hear everything blurred after that. I remember the cold sting of the 4. Going in, the sting of fear crawling under my skin. The way the ceiling tiles looked like a grid I couldn't escape from. I texted my wife immediately. Told her what the doctor said. She replied with, "Keep me posted. Not I'm coming. Not do you need anything." Just those 3 words. I tried to shake it off. Told myself she was probably busy, but I already felt something sinking. In my gut, like this hospital wasn't just where I'd come to heal. It was where my life would start falling apart before the hospital, before the silence, before everything fell apart. There was her. We met the way good stories often start, by accident. She spilled her coffee on my laptop at a coffee shop, panicked, and offered to buy me a new one right then and there. I laughed. She blushed. One awkward conversation turned into 5 hours of talking. 2 months later, we were inseparable. She had this energy, confident, sharp, magnetic. She said what she meant. I loved that about her. I thought we were partners. In every sense of the word, we built a life together. Small apartment at first, hand-me-down furniture, ramen and Netflix, but we dreamed bigger. Side hustles, investments, long-term savings. She was right there when we opened our joint account. We talked about early retirement, buying property out of state, maybe even opening a business together. She was the one who suggested consolidating everything into one shared savings account. Why would we keep secrets? She said, "We're a team." I believed her, of course I did. We said the vows, in sickness and in health, wore the rings. We talked about kids. We planned out baby names on the back of napkins. There were Sunday mornings where she'd curl up next to me and whisper, "You make me feel safe." God, I held on to that idea that love was safety, that love was forever. Turns out, ... forever has an asterisk. The days in the hospital started to blur. Morning. Blood draws. 4 fluid changes. Nurses coming in and out like ghosts. I kept telling myself I'd be discharged soon. That this was temporary. What scared me more than the diagnosis was the silence at first. She called, not every hour, but often enough. A quick, "How are you feeling?" Let me know if you need anything. And the calls turned into texts. Then the texts got shorter. Then they stopped altogether. 3 days. Went by nothing. I stared at my screen for hours. Typed out messages I never sent. "Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Can you just talk to me?" Each time I deleted them, didn't want to sound needy, didn't want to believe what? Maybe work is crazy. Maybe this is just how people cope when they're scared. But then I remembered something she said once. Early in our marriage, "If I ever go quiet on you, it means something's already wrong." That sentence came back louder than any nurse call button or heart monitor beep. And in that silence, something inside me started to shift. A knot formed in my gut. And I couldn't help but wonder, ... double quotes. Where was she? It was just after midnight. The nurses had finished their rounds. The hallway was quiet except for the buzz of the vending machine. I couldn't sleep, so I did what I always did when anxiety crept in. I checked our bank account. I still don't know why. Maybe part of me just needed to feel something normal, something familiar. The site loaded slowly. Hospital Wi-Fi isn't exactly reliable, but when it finally opened, my heart stopped. Available balance, $74.52. I stared at the number, refreshed. The page once, twice, again, same number. No error. That account had over $147,000 the last time I saw it. Our emergency fund, retirement savings, down payment on a second property, years of careful planning gone. My chest tightened. My hand started shaking. The heart monitor beside me picked up, beeping just a little too fast. A nurse peeked in. I waved her off. I clicked View Transactions. Withdrawal, transfer, shopping, travel, wire transfer, tens of thousands. Moved in chunks, not even trying to hide it. No cover stories, no aliases. Her name was everywhere. Every transaction, every login. Vegas, boutique hotels, designer stores. One even said deposit to personal account. I could feel the 4 tug in my arm as I leaned forward, staring, sweat on my palms. Nausea rising in my throat. It felt like falling through the hospital, bed into a black hole. She took everything, and she didn't even wait till I was out of the hospital. There's betrayal, and then there's being stabbed while you're all ready. Bleeding, I called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted. I saw the account. No reply. Not then. Ever. I sat in that hospital bed, staring at a screen that wouldn't light up. My hands felt like someone else's. My body didn't feel real. You know that feeling when you drop your phone in water? That sick, sinking jolt in your stomach? It was like that, but constant and immoving. Suffocating. There was no fight, no confrontation. She didn't deny it. She didn't explain. She didn't even lie. She just ... disappeared, and in her place was silence. A few days later, when I was discharged, I came home to a cold apartment. Half the closet was empty. Her dresser drawers cleared out. The ring I gave her, gone. No note, no goodbye, just absence. And it hit me harder than the diagnosis. I thought about all the times she promised me we were a team. I'm with you, no matter what. You don't ever have to fight alone. I married you, not your circumstances. Funny how those words echo when there's nothing left to hold on to. I sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, staring at the empty space beside me, and all I could think was any of it real? She thought she'd taken everything, and honestly, so did I. For about a day. But when the shock started to wear off, just a little, my mind began to clear, and I remembered something. A conversation from 3 years ago. We were watching a documentary about divorce scams, people who drained accounts, left their partners with nothing. She laughed and said, "If I ever run off with the money, I hope you've got a secret vault somewhere." It was a joke. But that night, I opened a private savings account in my name only. I never touched it. Just funneled little deposits into it every few months. A rainy day fund for a storm I didn't know was coming, and now, the storm was here. I opened the app, typed in my old password. $62,700, still there. Untouched. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like days. It wasn't the full amount, but it was enough. Enough to keep me afloat. Enough to pay the bills. Enough to remind myself that while she stole part of my story, she didn't get to write the ending. I also had copies of every transaction, screenshots, PDFs, time-stamped statements. She must have forgotten. I'm meticulous. I keep records of everything. So while she was spending my money on designer bags and hotel bars, I was building a quiet file. For the lawyers, she thought I'd be too broken to fight back. But what she didn't know was that I'd already started. I waited exactly 10 days, not because I needed time to cool off, because I needed time to prepare. I gathered everything transaction. Records, screenshots of the bank logins, copies of text messages, account timelines, even the CCTV footage of her entering the bank branch where she closed out the final joint CD. Yeah, ... She did that too. Then I made one call. Not to her. To a lawyer I sat across from him in a quiet office. Told him everything. He didn't blink. Just leaned back, nodded slowly and said, "You've got a case." We filed the paperwork: fraud, marital theft, emergency motion to freeze any accounts in her name that were still reachable, and then I called her. Her number rang 4 times. She answered, sounded surprised, maybe even nervous. I said, "You knew." "Was in the hospital? You drained our life savings. You left me, and you thought I wouldn't fight back." She went quiet, then tried to deflect something about emotional stress, about how we were drifting apart. I didn't shout, didn't accuse. I just said, "You'll be hearing from my attorney. Goodbye." Click, that was it. No drama, no begging, no second chances. I hung up that phone with a steady hand and a clear head, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I had gravity under my feet again. The legal part moved fast. Turns out when someone drains a joint account during a partner's medical crisis, the law doesn't look kindly on it. Her accounts were frozen. The judge ordered a financial hearing, my attorney said. We'd recover most of it, maybe not all, but enough. But here's the truth. Money wasn't the worst thing she took. What I lost was harder to measure. Things you don't see on a bank statement, like trust or peace. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, hand on my chest, thinking the IV was still in my arm, thinking I'd hear her walking into the room, bringing soup, or a joke or something simple. But there was only silence. I kept asking myself, was it always this fragile? Did I just never see it? The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing that the person I thought would hold my hand through the worst days, ... was the one who left me there. People ask if I miss her. I don't even know how to answer. That I miss the idea of her, the version I built in my head, the future we painted on napkins on car rides, in late-night whispers, but not the woman who walked out. You don't get those years back. You don't get the certainty back. You don't get the warmth of believing someone is truly in your corner, ... back. But you do learn. You learn how to stand up with shaky legs. You learn how to trust yourself when the person you trusted most vanishes. And you learn, slowly, that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about accepting what's gone and choosing to keep going anyway. Healing didn't come all at once. There was no dramatic moment, no epiphany with music swelling in the background. It was slow, like watching a tree grow. 1 inch at a time. I started small, set a routine, got up at the same time every day, made my own breakfast, did my own laundry her way at first, then mine. I went back to work, but not for someone else this time. I'd always wanted to try freelancing, marketing, consulting. Turns out when you give 17 years to building something with someone else, you learn a lot about how to build something for yourself. First client paid late, second one GHOS, TED, third paid on time and came back with a referral. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. I started going to therapy, didn't talk about her at first, didn't even say her name, just sat there. But eventually talked, and it helped. I reconnected with old friends. At first, I didn't know what to say. What could I say? They didn't want answers. They just wanted to sit with me. That was enough. I took long walks, started journaling, even picked up photography again, something I hadn't done since before the wedding. Funny how much beauty you miss when you're trying so hard to hold someone else's world together. I didn't rebuild the same life. Didn't want to. That life was built on shared dreams, and she took half of them with her. But this new one? It's built on me, on my pace, my peace, my principles. If I ever wrote her a letter, which I won't, it would start like this. You took almost everything, but you didn't take me. You took the savings. You took the home. You took the life. We built and shattered it in the middle of my worst moment. But you didn't take my will. You didn't take my kindness. You didn't take my ability to love again. Someday, carefully, slowly, but fully. And you didn't take my story, because the day you left wasn't the end of my life. It was the end of the part where I kept trying to prove I was worth staying for. I'm not bitter. Not anymore, because the person you were, the one who could walk away from a hospital bed like it was an inconvenience, that's not someone I want beside me, and I don't wish you pain. I just hope that someday you sit with what you did, not out of guilt, but out of understanding, because what you threw away wasn't just money, it was loyalty. It was a man who would have given you everything. You did. And I hope you realize what you left behind is doing just fine. So here's to the quiet peace that follows chaos. Here's to mornings where I make my own coffee, my own home, with no secrets. And here's to knowing I didn't lose myself in the fire. I walked out of it stronger,